Good day, class. I wish you Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance. We are going to continue with our class on the farm planning, and today we are going to talk about the farm growth. We have started the lecture last week before Christmas on farm growth, so I will just quickly go through some of the things we have discussed in the class. Then later we continue and round up the class today. Then next week, hopefully we will be in the new year and we continue with the last part of the lecture, the farm growth. Like I mentioned, that the farm growth is a natural phenomena, in part because every successful farm business, we have excess money that they must deploy, and when they use this earning is usually used to expand the farm business based on a logical choice. When we are talking about farm growth, there are many reasons why a farm may want to grow, and some of the reasons are listed in the presentation. It may be to reduce costs, or to improve the profit margin, or to improve asset utilization. It may be to bring in new family members. I think I've explained that earlier on, or to invest, retain honey, and to ensure more fully utilize the skill of, to ensure that the skill of key managers are fully utilized. And like I mentioned in the last class, before you think of growing, it is essential also for an operation to think about their strategic direction. It is the strategic direction that will influence the growth. One, the farm that want to grow or intend to grow, to be able to answer this question. And the question is the operation interested in a commodity-based strategy or a differentiated product strategy? That the strategic direction of the farm will determine how the farm will grow and what will influence the growth of the farm. As an operation continue to think about growth and how growth impacts strategy, when the operation think about the growth, they will need to understand how this growth will affect the strategic direction, and how the impact, the effect of this growth will affect the strategic direction, and in what way the farm will need to address this. All these things need to be answered in farm growth. There are so many options to growth. There are so many ways you can go about ensuring that your farm grow. And in this presentation, there are at least 6 growth alternatives available to farm, the fish farm. And these growth alternatives are as listed here. They are the alternative, the option that the farm can take in ensuring that they achieve the growth. The first option is whether the farm want to focus on certain things or specialize in certain area. That is an option. Whether they want to focus on certain commodity or specialize in an area. Like maybe you are doing table fish production before, and you want to, you want to also specialize more into stable fish production. Or another option for growth is intensification. Maybe you are producing 5 tons per hectare, you want to intensify it to 10 tons per hectare, or you want to modernize your operation. That's another option for growth. Expansion, whether to expand or diversification is another option to grow for growth, whether the farmer in the growth want to diversify into another crop option, or you want to, another alternative for growth is to replicate whatever you are doing, increase it, replicate it, replication or integrate. The when you are specializing, like I say, specialization as an option for growth. When you are specializing in one activities, maybe you are going, you used to do grain and you are doing grain and fish production before, but now you want to specialize more on fish production rather than producing rice. And you do this in order to improve efficiency, just like I mentioned, the reason to reduce costs and increase profit margin. When you intensify, you are pushing more production through the same fixed asset base. And when you do this, when you push more production through the same system that you are using, the same number of ponds you are using, then it can lead to spreading the fixed cost over more output and increase in asset turnover ratio. Like in learning, just like I just I'm studying some farm in Nigeria, like in Kwara State. The farmer there, because they have access to this dam there, Asa Dam, and there are a lot of water there. So this farmer now, because they have water and all facility is available in terms of water resources, the farmer are now increasing their stocking level. Rather, the farmer that is doing 5 fish per square meter before are moving up to 50 fish per square meter on the same pond. That's what we mean by through the same fixed asset base on the same pond system. Pond is a fixed asset, and when they increase it, the fixed cost, the cost of the pond or those activities will be spread over those the stock, the increase in stock, and at the end of the day, the farmer will have more output and also have increase in asset turnover ratio. So that's that. Another option is expansion. When you expand, one of the most commonly used this one of the most commonly used growth option. Expansion means you are increasing the enterprise size. This option should be explored only after exploiting all of the efficiency, all of exploiting all of the efficiency associated with the current option. Then when you are diversifying, and that means diversifying is opposite of specialization. When you are diversifying, that means you are going into addition, you are involved in addition of new enterprise. You are doing table fish production before, now you go into fingerlings production. That is diversification. And this kind of option, the advantage there is that you are reducing your risk. Any problem that occur with table fish production, any problem you encounter there, definitely that problem will not occur in fingerlings production. And as a result, you make profit even if one option is having problem, the other option will help to balance this problem. As that one, you cannot lose it. It is expected that you can't lose from the same system. And however, in many cases, this option can also lead to economies of scope. Yes, it will improve access to utilization and reduction in cost. Replication, that's another alternative for growth. Replication involves expanding the operation through the development of multiple sites or plants, taking more land. This option allow for decentralized management in a smaller unit. And integration, that's another option, involve moving forward or backward into production or processing. Integration have an advantage in that it can ensure access to key input or output, and also can also lead to efficiency and cost reduction. So those are the alternative for growth. Is now left for the farm manager to decide which which alternative fits into his production strategy, the strategic direction of the operation. Now, what are the strategic issues that influence growth choices? I said, the strategic direction will influence what will be the kind of alternative that the farmer want to use in farm planning. So what are the strategic issues that will influence this growth choice? The first thing is that when one is even evaluating the growth option, it is very important for the farm manager to conduct an internal and external analysis of the farm business. When you are doing internal analysis, it involves identification of key resources, capability, and the core competence of that farm. When you do that, identify the key resources, the capability and core competence, that one will help the farmer to decide on the best growth option, growth alternative that the farm will want to adopt. And one of the ways to assess resources, capability, and competence is to ask the farm management will need to ask themselves whether this operation has unique resources or competencies that can lead to a competitive advantage that will come out of this growth alternative. And as a farm growth, it needs to make sure that it is fully utilizing these unique resources and core competencies. When one has decided the growth option, then these resources and core competency, we need to ensure that it is well utilized. And also, after analyzing the internal environment, doing internal analysis, it is also important that one needs to examine the external environment. One needs to scan the horizon and ask, whether the social environment and industry environment that the farm face, the farm management, we need to know the social environment and the industry environment that this farm will face when making the growth choice. It needs to be well analyzed. The social environment and also the industry environment need to be well analyzed so that one will be able to make appropriate choices in terms of farm growth. One also needs to answer the questions on how does the current environment and the expected changes in the environment will impact the growth option chosen by the farm management. How will the current environment and expected changes in the environment will affect this growth option? Another way to also manage the external environment into making the growth choice is to think about the key drivers facing the market for the products being produced by your farm. What are the things? What are the driving forces in the market as relate to those products that the farm is going to produce at the end of the day? All these things need to be well analyzed before making the growth option. Whether you want to expand, whether you want to diversify, whether you want to intensify, or whether you want to specialize. All these issues, the internal and external analysis of your farm business need to be well carried out and analyzed so that that one it will actually help in making the growth choice. Now, the next question is that how should growth venture be evaluated? How are you going to evaluate the growth venture? A successful farm, most successful farms have numerous growth options for which they can choose for. Just like I have explained earlier on, the option for growth. But the key question is, how does a farm choose which growth option to pursue? How did they choose the growth option to pursue? Yes, I mentioned the strategic direction, but how did they go about it? And in choosing the growth option to pursue in line with the strategic direction of the farm, 8 criteria can be used in making the choice. And these criteria are summarized in my presentation here. The first one is the strategic fit. How does it fit into your strategy? How does it fit into your strategic direction? Like the farmer may say, okay, my own is to produce for export market. And what are the things that are required? The farmer need to, just like I mentioned, internal and external environment. When you know that you have the competency, the resources, and things that are expected to drive this, to exploit the internal export market, then also you have to look at the social and the industrial climate that are required for you to enter into the export market. So all these things these are answered under the strategic fit. Then the next one is the expected return. What are the things, or what are the returns you are expecting if you go into export market? Take your fish into export market. What are the expected return from it? What are the what is the income level? What's the revenue level? And what are the risks involved? You also need to look at that. What are the risks involved? You need to evaluate the risk involved in taking your product into export market, in taking your fish into to another country. What are the risks involved? The quarantine. Your product can get spoiled in the plane. How are you going to manage those risks? Even getting your money back. Those are you need to analyze those risks and how you are going to manage it. Also, what are the capital? You need to also look at the capital required in going into such operation. The cost and the ease of entry and exit is also very important. You need to look at the cost of entry into the business and exit, and also the ease of entry and exit. The value creation, the managerial requirements, needed for this, and the portfolio fit are the things that the farm manager will need to know. Just this slide is trying to explain what do you mean by the portfolio fit. It refers to how the growth option being explored fit into the current farm activities. How does it fit into the current your current farm activities? Does the new growth option increase risk or stretch the current management too thin? You need to properly evaluate that. And also, I think I've explained the strategic fit option earlier. So let's look at different farm type and the growth strategy used by the different farm type, and what are the growth strategy. You know, the modern agriculture farm operation have seen the proliferation of different type of farm. So we are going to look at 4 prevalent types of farm in Nigerian system, and each of these type of farm, you know, they need to follow different strategies. You know, the strategic drive of this farm, it determines the growth option. So for them to be successful, they have their own different strategy. And the typical growth strategy for each of the 4 different type of farm we are going to look at is along how operations are organized, how they organize their operation, the income generated, and what the resources that are required. So those are the things that are look at under the growth strategy by type of farm. Let's look at commodity farm. This kind of farm, what we call commodity farm, are traditional farm that sell fish and fish products into commodity market. They produce fish and fish products and sell it to Iyaleshiloye. They take it to Abuja market. They take it to Onitsha market, where they are selling fish, the fish market. These are traditional farm, and this kind of farm are common around in fish farming. What is their growth strategy? The first one will be expansion. If it's commodity market, is the capacity expansion. And just like I mentioned, the people in Kwara State, the farmer in Nasadam, they are producing more now. Before, every day, 10 or 15 truck of filled with fish, big truck filled with fish, usually leave Ilorin, Asadam every day, daily, every single day. But now with their strategic drive and the growth option, I learned recently, recent record shows that 50 trucks are leaving Asadam area where they are farming every day. And what did they do is that they adopted, they want to supply more into the commodity market. And what their growth strategy is to expand their capacity expansion. And how they go about that? Is that this farm, they expand horizontally. Some farmers that have 2 or 3 ponds take more land and increase the size of the land, the number of ponds. 3 ponds they increase it to 12 ponds. They expand horizontally with more acres and also stock more fish. And the premise is to accept low margin typical of commodity production and also maximize return. The profit margin is low, but they maximize the quantity they are producing and get their more return by increasing the number of units and spreading the fixed cost over more units. Then when we look at the operational organization in terms of specialization, in this commodity market, a key to the success of their capacity expansion is to specialize by having just a few large-scale enterprise, so that the management is just focused on a few enterprise. Most of these fish farm in the Ilorin, as Adam we are talking about, they don't go into fingerlings production. They don't go into processing. They don't go into broodstock development. Their own is to produce fish that will meet the need of their customers. So they specialize. In terms of specialization, they just specialize in one key enterprise. And that's one beautiful thing about operational organization of commodity farm. Income sources is very few, because income come from just one or a small number of enterprise. And in terms of resource requirement, the commodity market farm is capital intensive, because the commodity production require large capital investment in land, machineries, and other assets. So access to capital is very important, and their balance sheet is built on land and machinery. Then another one is value-added processing or value-added commodity farm. These are also a traditional commodity farm that their activities go beyond the farm gate. They go beyond the farm gate. They are not selling their fish at the farm gate, but they invest. Is done by investing in processing of the fish commodity. Instead of selling their fish fresh, they go into processing of the fish commodity. Like an example is a fish farmer investing in fish oil production. They process their fish. The growth strategy of this farmer is integration. Integration. They go into integration. In value-added processing, their growth strategy is vertical strategy, moving up the supply chain. They move up the supply chain and beyond the farm gate into processing. They move a bit higher, upper. From the farm gate, they are not selling their fish fresh at the farm gate, but they go into processing. So capital is invested in processing rather than the expansion of commodity production. People in Ilorin, they are increasing their acreage of land to produce more fish to sell. But in this case of the farmer going into value-added processing of commodity farm, there is a vertical increase. They go beyond the farm gate and go into processing of their products. So they invest a lot of capital into processing of their products. Just like I'm leaving the fish now, a cassava farmer farming cassava, instead of selling the cassava into commodity market, the cassava farmer is using that cassava to produce garri, lafun, and all sorts of things like that. So it is a form of integration, and it's vertical strategy. The growth strategy is essential and investment decision. You want to, a farmer may say, I don't want to be selling my product fresh. I want to add value into it and make money. It's an investment decision. And there's little change in how the farm business is operated. The operational organization, that is specialization. Because this is a commodity business, and the processing aspect is just an investment decision, operations are usually specialized in just few enterprise, just like commodity. And in terms of income source, the income source is multiple. There are multiple source of income. Because the business involves both production and also processing. So you can make money from production, and also you can make your money from processing. And also this is, in terms of resource requirement, is capital intensive, because this is essentially an investment decision in processing. And the growth strategy is very capital intensive. And the balance sheet is also built on land and value-added processing. Then the next farm type is specialty product farm. Specialty product farm. These are farms that produce specialty product for a niche market, including some can say, I'm producing organic fish. When you are doing organic fish farmer, organic fish is for a special market. Some can be producing fish egg, like people doing sturgeon fish farming. They are not rearing sturgeon fish. Sturgeon fish is not common in this part of the world. It's usually reared in Europe and some part of America. And this sturgeon fish is rare for their egg. People buy the egg of this fish for a very huge amount of money, and it's for a special market. So this kind of farm is referred to as specialty product farm. And these farms are generally not involved past the farm gate. The growth strategy of this farm is to increase profit margin. Instead of growing by increasing the unit of production, the focus is to grow by producing higher value crop or livestock with a larger profit margin. The cost of the sturgeon fish egg, they call it caviar. The cost of that caviar is so much that it's even more than the cost of even selling the whole fish flesh, because it's for some special market. And when you are selling organic fish, organically produced fish, there are some people that want to go for it because of the health issue that is attached to it. And so farmers tend to make more profit producing such products. Then the operational organization is the specialty product farm often specialize in just a few enterprises. So the operations are also specialized. Income sources is few, because it's linked only to small number of enterprise. The resources requirement is management intensive, because you have to have the skill. There are a lot of skill in producing organic products. You need to have the skill on how to rear sturgeon fish, so that you get good quality egg. So it's this kind of production is management intensive. Capital there is not capital intensive compared to that of commodity farm. And also we have direct marketing farm. direct marketing farm. This farm produce either traditional or specialty products, and they integrate forward into processing and marketing of these products. They are the one that produce. It can be commodity market, it can be specialty market. What they do is that they process their product and market it. For example, a good example is organic fish farm with on-farm processing that sells seed as a local branded product to consumer, or commercial conventional fish farm with co-owned processing that sell branded seed product through high-end retailers. They produce, process, and market their product. That's like what we are doing on the fish farm. We produce our products, we go into the processing and pack it, and directly also exploit the market. The growth strategy under this is to increase the profit margin. The profit margin is that you go beyond even selling at the farm gate and accessing the market directly. And also the operational strategy is diversification. Although one or just a few products are produced, but the operation is quite diverse because the farm business is involved in processing and marketing of the product. So the operational strategy tend to cover many activities: production, processing, and marketing. Then income sources is multiple. You get income from production, you get income from processing, and also the marketing of the product. Then the resources requirement, it is management intensive. You need a lot of a high level management skill is needed to monitor your product through production, to monitor it through processing and marketing. So these kind of farm tend to be management intensive, but the capital is less important when you compare it to that of commodity market. What are the basis model for farm growth? The basis model for farm growth. There are numerous motivations for farm to expand their business. There are motivation for the farm, need for the farm to grow their business. In today's environment, where you have very tight margin, profit margin, many farmers are exploring expansion options. So organizing and implementing growth strategy in production, agriculture, has expanded well beyond traditional organic growth strategy where assets are added to the current business. So we have 8 standard business models for farm growth. They are modeled with the motivation for farm growth. We have 8 standard business models. How the model, the structure through which you can implement your farm growth. The first one is the organic or internal growth. Organic or internal growth. This is the typical approach to expansion, where assets are acquired and added to the current business. For example, you can rent or purchase additional land. If you want to grow and you want to expand your operation, you can get more land, purchase additional land where you are going to dig more pond. You can even look for additional livestock facility, even leasing and purchasing of machineries and equipment. You acquired assets and it is added to the business. If this expansion is sufficiently large or geographically separated from the current farm operation, you can operate them as independent entity from an operational perspective, using the common replicate strategy of the industrial sector, where an optimal plant size is determined and expansion occur by building a new plant. What we are saying is that if your farm is large enough, like let me give you a case of Zatec. They are expanding. At the time they are expanding their fish farm before they close the fish farm operation. They are expanding it, and then they are taking more land. Even at a stage, they went to a Barapa area near the Ocean rivers, and they are building more pond. And it's far from their plant in Oluyole. So what they do is that they created the farm in Oluyole, Ibarapa. It's a replicate of the farm in Oluyole and some other area they have, and they have different management activities there. They decentralize the operational activities there, though they are replicating what they are doing in Oluyole farm. That is how organic or internal growth is achieved. These strategies have been used extensively in livestock industry, where a table fish farm replicate another production site rather than building onto the current site. And that's what I just explained now. Merger, another business model, another growth model is merger and acquisition. Merger and acquisition strategy is commonly used in business world and is becoming more common in production agriculture. This approach involves acquisition of a business rather than individual or selected assets of that business. And this strategy have advantage to both the buyer and the seller of the asset. The advantage to the buyer is that the purchase may include assignable lease. This allow the buyer to control resources with significantly less capital. The building, everything that is within that, when you acquire it and you merge it to your operation, those buildings, you just need to renovate according to your standard. You don't need to start another building, digging another pond. So it costs you less in terms of capital cost. From the seller perspective, in the absence of merger and acquisition strategy, it may be difficult for it may be difficult for a farmer that want to retire and sell his asset to find a ready buyer that will buy his take up his building, all the facility and machinery and equipment that he has. So it's an advantage when it merged with another organization and the organization acquire all the right to that farm. So it helps both the buyer and the seller of the asset. With this strategy, it may also be possible for the retiring farmer to work part-time for the farm purchasing the asset. You can they can take your farm, merger, and the bigger company acquired everything there. And also they take the people that this farm is, the farmer that sold this facility can also work as a worker, turn to worker, work for some time with the people that bought the farm. So it's an advantage also to the retiring farmer or the person that sold the asset, like the Twitter now that this Elon Musk just took over. Sometimes he can decide to retain some of the key CEO in Twitter and they work for some time with him in order for him to understand the operation of the company. and it will be at a cost to the person that is acquiring the structure. A challenge with this strategy is that some of the resources, including the personnel, may be redundant given the resource base of the purchasing firm. Yes, when Tutas was recently acquired, some of the personnel were laid off the job. So that's also one of the problems with it. And it's also very common. I know of Zatec, when they are buying some poultry farm, they will buy them up and also use them for their operational activities, and it's part of their growth model. Then the franchise, that's another growth model, franchise. And with the franchise model, the franchise offer the franchise a set of services and protocol. The franchise are the owner of that business, and we set the right to the person that we call the franchise, and they will be producing the same product under the approval of the mother company. And also they will be providing a set of services and protocol. And as a result, the franchise will be able to access the market that the original company is accessing, and also keep to standard operating procedure, and also the input discount, qualified supplier, they will acquire the qualified supplier status, and also follow the managerial oversight as laid out by the franchise. What the franchise is doing is that they are acquiring the right to operate in a particular geographical area using the services and the protocol of the franchise. And because of the size and scale of the franchise business, the franchise is expected to be able to obtain input cost reduction, better price from supplier and buyers, and also is also expected to accelerate the learning process of the franchise through benchmarking of best management practices of the most successful franchise. So giving the right, whatever you are producing, you allow another company to also be involved, replicate whatever you are producing, giving that right, following your operational procedure, and they will be assessing the market at a cost. One of those things is that look at a good example. Now we are moving outside the fisheries, is the Mr. Biggs business. Most of the people running the business, for some time, like I understand, they are given the right by the company that is operating the Mr. Biggs. Forgotten the name of this company. Maybe I remember later. And they are producing, selling the product, following the standard layout by the Mr. Biggs, the company that holds Mr. Biggs, and this individual are the franchise, and they are operating under the logo of Mr. Biggs, following their operating procedure and the best management practices as laid by Mr. Biggs. They are giving the right. Also, Zatec is also doing that. They have all their marketing centers in all around are run not by Zatec itself, but those people that obtain the right to be using the logo of Zatec and also following the standard operating procedure and the managerial oversight as laid by Zatec, following them, and they are using the logo of Zatec to operate. We have that around also. So these are business model. The next one is the strategic alliance. The strategic alliance. This the strategic alliance are these are common business model used to combine the resources of two or more businesses together. The resources of two or more businesses are combined together to obtain price economy, to increase market access, and facilitate business succession and intergenerational transfer when two businesses come together in order to grow their market size, increase the market access, and also to change ideas. The strategies alliance may involve part of the business, machinery strategy sharing, joint marketing of products, or the strategic alliance may cover the entire business. You know, we have strategic alliance among the airlines. The airlines can they can come together. Like now, Nigeria, we are having the Air Nigeria airline, but it's being operated by the Ethiopia airline. So it's a form of strategic alliance. We have some airlines controlled by Ethiopia airline, and they are operating together as a partner, so that it can the Ethiopia airline may be supplying parts, equipment, plane to Nigeria Airways, and it may cover the entire business operation of Nigeria Airways. The challenges of this business arrangement is the joint decision making that is typically involved, and the difficulty that sometimes occur with respect to existing alliance, if there's alliance. As with the other business arrangement, it is best to agree during the formation process on the termination arrangement. You know, they have to also list what can lead to termination of that. How can they terminate, divorce this kind of alliance? Then also the business model, you can be a service provider. The service provider is commonly used in both grain and livestock production in form of custom crop operation. In livestock production, fish production, if you have the feed mill, you know, the maize, people selling maize, fish meal, and some others will be providing some kind, supplying the farmer with grain, the maize. They will be supplying the farmer with what do you call it, the fish meal, and this product for the fish miller, feed miller, I mean, and which they will use in producing their livestock. Those people doing that are the livestock. They are the service provider, and the basic concept is that the resources are provided or activities are performed by one party for another for a fee. The service provider is an independent contractor rather than an employee. They are the one that will supply the people that will supply the input and to run the operation. These are the service provider. The people doing the fish seed, fingerlings producer, they provide service to the farmer. This is another business model. Then asset outsourcing or service outsourcing. That is, this is also a form of service provider model, but it's just complementing the service provider model. In this kind of system, the assets or outsourcing and asset or outsourcing model involve leasing and rental arrangements, which are used extensively in production agriculture. Leasing and renting arrangement to obtain machinery, equipment, green storage space and land. The farmer may not have the machine or equipment to dry his maize or to shell his maize, so it will outsource it, get people rent the machinery or equipment. He may not have space to keep his grain. We go and rent a space where to keep it. The farmer may not even have access to land, so he can rent the land for his operation. This business model, the advantage of this business model is that it reduces the capital outlay needed to obtain or have control of to obtain control of resources. And also, it also another advantage or benefit of this system is that it increases the flexibility to expand or to downsize the business more rapidly in response to changes in business climate. It reduces the capital outlay and also the flexibility to either expand or downsize the business. A good example of asset or service outsourcing is in fish production, including acquiring the market, including getting the market expertise. You can outsource what they call this central brand thing off taker. You can have get experts who will come and take your product and sell, marketing. You can even outsource the accounting expertise. People will come and look at your business model. Even outsource services in terms of getting the veterinarian, the doctor, animal doctor, fish doctor, fish expertise in those areas to come and take this another business model. Then agricultural entrepreneur, and this model involve investigating the business opportunity in supply industry. Those that will supply you with machinery and equipment, seed, crop protection, as well as providing trucking or logistics services. These are what we call agricultural entrepreneurs, people that will give you grain origination and storage, product processing, people that will come in to help you with land clearing, pond construction, and also the preparation of the pond. This is also a form of business model. Then also the investors. The investors' business model is characterized by how and why an agricultural entrepreneur acquire or invest in a business. In this instance, if it is acquisition, it's usually motivated primarily by financial objective, with expectation that the business will require little managerial input or oversight. The investors are the people looking for where to invest, and the way they will invest and the reason why they invest is what we are talking about. They can acquire this business acquisition, they invest their money in based on the fact that when they invest there, they get they don't need to talk about how to manage the business. They will just discuss on what will be their return on the investment. There are some people doing that in Nigeria, even on radios, asking people to invest on fish farming, and this is what they are going to get. Although we are yet to perfect that kind of model, people will collect money from different people to invest on fish farming business, and they will be giving certain return every month or whatever, but it is usually most of the thing we are witnessing in this part of the world is a form of scam, but also investing in a viable business and not involving yourself with the management or oversight. They will just be giving you return on your investment. Is another form of business model in fish farming. And the skill and competency needed for growth. What are the skill and competency needed for growth? I think we have talked about that you need to conduct an internal analysis of the farm business, and you identify the core competency. And after doing this, it is also important to conduct a skill assessment of the current employee and to know how strong or weak are the workforce production management skill, procurement and selling skill, financial management skill, personnel management skill, also the strategic position skill. You also need to look at the relationship management skill, leadership skill, and risk management skill. All these things need to be looked into, and these skills need to be looked into and align them along with the growth strategy. And you need to answer the question of how the growth strategy leverage this skill, and if you don't see any leverage there, then you have to think of how to acquire new skill in order to bring the needed skill in order to be successful in achieving the farm growth. Finally, we need to talk about the sustainable growth rate. What do we mean by sustainable growth rate? When something is sustainable, that means the thing is successful. It's a business that is profitable, that will be doing every time, repeating every time. If the business is not successful, then you won't be repeating it. It will be very wise. If you are losing, you are not making profit from your business activities, then you are now doing it year in, year out, or you don't change focus, then it's not sustainable. So what is sustainable growth rate in fish farming is the maximum rate of growth that a farm can sustain without having to increase financial leverage or look for outside financing. That is sustainable growth rate. Maximum rate of growth that a farm can sustain without having to increase their financial leverage or look for outside resources, financing. The sustainable growth rate can be computed using information on the earnings, retained earnings of savings, and also the business withdrawal. And when you look at this rate, these parameters, once it's computed, it will also be useful to see how this rate changes with the use of borrowed fund. And when computing a rate with borrowed fund, it is extremely important to gauge how the use of the borrowed fund increase risk. So sustainable growth rates will tell you the rate that the farm can grow, that you don't need to increase the financial leverage or think of how you can borrow. That is what is sustainable growth rate. And there are so many indicators you use data that you can use to compute your sustainable rate. And this your earning, retaining earning or savings, and business withdrawal. And that is that about farm planning today. And we continue from where we stopped today in the new year. I wish you Happy New Year in advance. And also pray that we have a very productive year ahead. Thank you. we stop today. Have a nice holiday.